I was born in Pueblo, Colorado, December 12, 1951. I was the youngest of 4 children. My father was a steel worker, my mother is a secretary. I met Fred when I was 5 years old. We basically grew up together. I have to admit, he wasn't particularly interested in me, but finally he came around, and we were married in 1974. The following year, our first child, Christy, was born. She was a joy. She was the life of a party. She never was afraid of strangers. She liked to do a lot of things that all normal kids do. She loved being around people, and people loved being around her. She was just a very special child. In November of '78, our son, Fred Jr., was born. In some ways, Freddie was a lot like Christy, and then in other ways, he was more quiet, and I think it was because he had no choice, because Christy did a lot of talking. I guess you could say Christy and Freddie were typical American kids growing up in a typical American family. In June of '93, Christy came to us, told us that she was pregnant and she wanted to have an abortion. She said that she felt trapped, like she was painted into a corner. She was convinced her life was over if she had this baby. I guess you expect a 17-year-old to think that way. But at the time, even her father and I weren't thinking too clearly, and none of us thought about any alternatives. So on July 1st, the day after Christy's 18th birthday, I drove her to the Mayfair Women's Clinic in Aurora, Colorado. When we got there, some of the fear and the dread that I was feeling started to go away. The clinic was clean, nice looking. When we went inside, the people were friendly. They seemed professional. I felt reassured, almost comfortable. They took Christy back for counseling. The majority of it, they wouldn't let me go back with her. So I have no idea what they had told her. The only time I was to go back was when they were explaining how the abortion was going to be done, the instruments that they were going to use. And Christy and I, we had some concerns, and we asked them what the risks were. They told us that the only risk that there was is hemorrhaging, and that they had everything there to take care of it. Later on, we found out that the way that they take care of hemorrhaging is they put you in a private car, take you to the hospital, and if you die between the clinic and the hospital, they're not liable. But in Christy's case, she died at the scene. she went into full cardiac and respiratory arrest. The first sign that I had of anything being wrong, I was sitting in the waiting room, and I heard an ambulance, the sirens, and I knew instantly that there was something wrong with her. Went up to the desk, and the lady there at the reception desk, she told me to go on back into a waiting room, that the doctor would be in to talk to me, that something had gone wrong. And when I finally was able to talk to the doctor, they had already taken Christies to the hospital. And he told me that she had some breathing problems, that she was going to be okay, that she ought to be able to go home tonight or tomorrow. They were just going to take her to the hospital for observation. When I got to the hospital, I asked to see Christy. They refused to let me see her, and they put me in a small room. And they told me that the doctor had come in as soon as he could. When he did come in, he told me that Christy was in a coma. They had to put her on a respirator, a heart monitor, IVs, tubes down her nose. And I wanted to go to her, and he told me that I couldn't until I had calmed down. So I got myself together, and he let me go in. And I had told the nurse that that wasn't my daughter. And when I realized it was, is when the nurse handed me a bag with Christy's jewelry in it. And that the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life was to call my husband and tell him that he didn't have his daughter anymore, that she was alive. But it wasn't the same daughter that we brought up there. Can we stop for a minute?
What I see is going on in these abortion clinics, I really get angry, especially as in Christie's case, a young woman's life has been totally ruined. Christie's brain has been severely damaged since this incident has happened, and the top portion of the brain, which is called the cerebral cortex, does not function at all. The only portion of the brain which is functioning is a small portion called the brainstem. Because of that, she is not able to walk and talk and not see. She is only able to move her eyes around and breathe. She has some awareness, but the total level of awareness as compared to a normal person is only 5 to 10%. The brain waves are absolutely flat, as they would be in a dead person. She is at a stage of life where only reflexes are present. If you put something in the mouth, she may swallow it. She does not see, she does not think, she does not feel, and she does not hear. She is at a high risk of having other complications like pneumonia or other infections and dying from them. Realistically speaking, from a medical position, she is not going to improve.
Okay, Christy, it's time for your medicine, okay? After Christy wakes up, which is anywhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, I prepare her medicine, which is taking all of her pills, putting them into a container, which I grind them up, getting her water and 7-Up mixture to dissolve the medication. I go in and I inserted a tube into her stomach, and I use a syringe. Sometimes it's hard to get her medicine to go down the tube, so I have to use like a little plunger in the syringe to force her medications into her stomach. After her medication,
Ready?
my husband and I
2, 3.
get her ready for her shower. We have to transfer her from the bed to the wheelchair, and then from the wheelchair into her shower chair. We give her her shower. We take her out of her shower chair, put her back into her wheelchair with a bath blanket, blow dry her hair, and then I clean her G-tube site. And I clean it with peroxide, sterile water. Then we get her ready for her day. We do physical therapy, occupational therapy. In the afternoons, we get her on her tilt table, which lets her stand up on her own 2 feet, but she's strapped in. We have an exercise table that we transfer her over on to do the physical therapy, the range of motion, to where she will stay contraction-free. She had developed drop foot, and we had done serial castings on it, and we used the cast to prevent any further drop foot. Today she's contracture-free. I won't let her body curl up into a ball. I know it sounds kind of petty, but Christy has lost all of her dignity. We used to keep her in diapers. We no longer do that. Her skin is so sensitive that it breaks down. But she still goes to the bathroom. And her father and I are the ones that clean her. She still has her periods, and we clean this. She drools all the time, which is a 24-hour job in itself, keeping her dry from the drooling. She's in her own private prison, and the doctors say that she'll never get any better. People have no idea what being in this situation can do to you. They can't imagine what it's like to be around their child 24 hours a day and have absolutely no idea what her world is like. There are times that I know that Christy is there, and she tries to communicate with us, but then she's gone again. I can see her and I can touch her, but I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's in pain. And sometimes I wonder if she even knows I'm her mom. I guess I feel most guilty When Christy is having a bad day, I feel that she would be better off dead, because the way she's living now is not a life. And as a mother, I shouldn't feel this way, but I do. If you want to know about guilt, try living with that every day of your life. Of course, there's always anger to deal with. Sometimes I get so mad I feel like I'm going to explode. Fred and I take care of Christy 24 hours a day. If something was to happen to her, we would be investigated. And if the state found anything wrong, we would be thrown in jail. But this abortionist can take her life away from her, and he's still free. The only thing he gets is a slap on the hand and a written reprimand. It angers me to hear people say that legalized abortions profit women. It doesn't profit women. The only ones that profit is the men. They're let off the hook. They're not the ones that have to pay with their lives. These young women and these young girls put their lives on the line every day that they walk into a clinic to have an abortion. When the state and the government made these abortions legal, they were supposed to have made them safer. They didn't make them any safer. They took these back alley abortionists out of the back alley, put them in big fancy buildings, dressed them in fancy suits, and told them, here, go ahead and do what you've always been doing. And it gives these women a false sense of security. They think that they're going to go in there and they're going to be just fine when they walk out. But the thing that they don't know is when they walk in, they may never walk out. I'm angry at the abortion industry too. When they get you in there, they make you believe that you have no choice, that this is the only way that you should go, is to have the abortion. They don't tell you that you have choices. Every time I hear one of these pro-choice people say how safe abortions are, I would like them to come and spend one day with Christy. And since Christy's abortion, we have found out that she's not the only one in this situation. There's been many women and young girls who have died, who have been injured, who have been molested. We didn't know that we were being betrayed, and we didn't know that the last steps that Christy was ever going to take was to climb up on that abortionist table. I guess what angers me the most is what this has done to our family. It's so hard on everybody. It terrifies my son. He's had to grow up real fast. He used to be happy, go free, just laughing and smiling all the time. It's very rare that I get to see him smile or laugh. It's hard on him in the sense that he thinks he has to help me take care of Christy, when he should actually be out having fun and enjoying his teenage years. He's a wonderful kid, and I hate to see him lose out on his childhood, but he seems like he's much older than what he is. Being 16 and acting like you're in your 30s isn't right for a child. But that's the way he is. He doesn't really talk much about Christy, but there's not a night that goes by that he doesn't go in and tell her good night and give her a kiss. As for Fred, he feels that he has let Christy down. He feels like, as a father, he was supposed to be there to protect his daughter. And he feels that he wasn't there. He blames himself. He loves Christy with all of his heart and his soul. He holds his feelings in, but when I look into his eyes, I can see the hurt and the pain and all the anguish that that man has been going through for the last 2 years. And I think it's harder on him being a father and feeling like there's more he could have done. He's also under a lot of pressure at work because of this situation. It used to be a mom and pa operation that we have. Christy and I used to work our business with Fred, and now he's down there by himself. He tries to handle it the best he can, but it's a struggle. And we can't afford to hire another employee to take Christie's in my place. So he does it by himself. When Fred goes to the abortion clinic that hurt Christy to pick it, he goes alone. This is his way of letting things out. He wants to do something, and he's not sure what to do. So he stands there alone, walking the sidewalk, hoping that somebody will care what had happened to Christy, and hoping that somebody will care what will happen to the next girl that walks into that clinic. But he feels alone. I can comfort him, but it doesn't seem to help much. This is his way out, to let his anger out. But usually all that happens is the people who drive by yell at him. The people at the clinic harass him, and the police treat him like he's the criminal. I worry about Fred a lot. I've been with him since I was 5 years old. We've been married for over 20 years. And I know that he's dying inside. It kills him to see his daughter not being able to walk or talk. He's hurting, and he's hurting bad. It's just not fair all we wanted was to raise our children, be happy, give them a good home, love them, and to make sure that they were well taken care of. But because of this abortion, we don't have a life or the security that we thought we would have. We no longer are able to do things together as a family, go places as a family, talk as a family. Everything's been taken away from us. There's not a day that goes by that I don't go in my room and I cry. To see your child lay there and not being able to do anything for her, it's horrible. You know, earlier I said Christy was a prisoner, but I guess in reality, we're all prisoners.